Welcome back to the Wolfe Digital Tribe. I'm your host, Richard Wolfe, and we're here to talk about the things that truly matter, the systems, the power structures, and the fight for the very soul of our communities. Today is going to be a lot to unpack, but I have compacted it, you can say, into this first part series into the Lynn Files, and the series is the Palacios Paradox, but it's a broader crisis, as we'll dive into within our nation. You know, the thing that troubles me the most about the community that I live in, and that's what I know. That's what you know, right? It's what we see every day. The people we stop and get coffee, or the gas station exchange, conversation, families or communities or schools, religious institutions, as well as our governmental bodies. That's what matters real today in the here and now. Not saying our federal government doesn't matter. Of course it matters. But for too long, we have ignored and focused our attention on things at a federal level that we have allowed negligence. We are solely responsible. We, you and I, our community, our families, the ones that are electing these officials into positions of power, that we have no idea what their policy is. Why is policy on a state level or federal level? You want to know someone's policy. What's their, is someone asked me, what is your aim in all of this? Powerful question. It's a very fundamental question in life, in governance. What is our aim? So I want to ask you, what is your aim in life? What is your aim? Is it just to ignore the system? Because the system cannot be ignored. I go back to, I study a lot of World War II, World War I, just kind of fascinated with that period of time. I think that the World War II generation was the last of a dying breed. It was a very honorable, I'm not saying there hasn't been honorable generation, but I love hearing their stories and studying the fascism and communism and Stalinism, you could say, and of course we all have heard of the genocide of the Nazis, but none of those things happen overnight. And there have been many people in my life that have said, just why even bother? And I've said many times, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. So I've asked myself a fundamental question as I have studied history, World War II especially. I would ask myself, all of these people that grew up, that were friends, co-workers, neighbors, teachers, and watched these Jewish people be dragged away out of their homes and humiliated, and would say nothing and would do nothing, and yet claim that they knew nothing. They say ignorance is bliss. If you're uninformed, you don't know. So that's my aim, is to inform. And there is which the people that want to oppress that, or suppress that, rather, sorry, you can't do it. Because we are governed under the Constitution of the United States, the greatest country, most powerful country. More than anything, democracy is the light of the global governance. Not saying it works in every country. We have tried that. But Lady Liberty lights her flame to burn bright, to offer hope, a new start, a new beginning, to put your hands in the dirt and the soil and call it your own. But that is slowly chipping away if we allow it, if we stand idly by and ignore the very hard truths in our own back door. So, I want to start by going back to the very document that birthed this nation. I want you to listen, really listen, guys, to these words from the Declaration of Independence. It was written in 1776. They signed a death warrant, our founding fathers, basically. That's pretty much what they did. With courage, tenacity, perseverance, and boldness. So think about the grievances our founding fathers had against a distant king. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substances. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assets to their acts of pretended legislation, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. Swarms of officers eating out people's substances, pretended legislation, taxes without consent, establishing an arbitrary government as a fit instrument to introduce absolute rule. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? Think about it. You know, the argument I'm going to make today is that the very same specter of bureaucratic oppression our founders fought against is alive and well. And I've been fighting against it since I've embarked on this investigation and the journey of my life. But doesn't wear a crown or command an army of redcoats in our modern age. You could see this is like the oligarch takeover. It's quieter, much quieter. Sneaky, really. It's more insidious. It wears a business suit, carries a briefcase full of contracts, and drapes itself in the flag of economic development. Guys, this is happening right under our noses. in small towns and communities all across this country. Today, our town, Palacios, Texas, as a case study for a national crisis. So before we go any further, I need to be very, very crystal clear. The following is commentary and analysis based on publicly available documents, including case files and a specific development agreement between SAL Holdings, LLC, and the City of Palacios, dated February 15th, 2022. This podcast is protected speech under the First Amendment. All claims are alleged, and all parties are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. This is an examination of public records and the questions they raise. I am not an attorney, and this does not constitute legal advice. So, how does a community lose itself? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens in plain sight through a slow, methodical process. It happens when we stop paying attention, as I mentioned earlier. You know, the very bedrock of our society, the institutions that instill our core values, are our nonprofits, our churches, our civic groups, the foundations that provide housing and food for those in need. These are built on one thing and one thing alone, and that is trust. They are the soul of a community. But what happens when that trust is exploited? What happens when corporations like wolves in sheep clothing infiltrate these trusted spaces? Let's look at the case file of the Lynn Network on the Texas Gulf Coast. We see a powerful, vertically integrated corporation, Lynn Group, and its CEO, Stuart A. Lynn, and boy, do we see a pattern. The file shows that Mr. Lynn served for years on the Matagorda County Economic Development Corporation, the EDC. These are quasi-governmental bodies. They wield immense power, guys. They recommend public financing. They help choose corporate winners and losers. Basically, they shape the future of a region. According to public records, this is often an uncompensated role, a civic duty. But that's on paper. He received nothing. But the evidence suggests that this position provided something far more valuable than a salary: influence and power and access. The power to sit at the table where the deals are made. And while sitting at that table, his private empire has grown. We analyzed through our system a machine built for market dominance. It's called it's OSINT. That's OSINT. Anyone can access it. It takes a little bit of technical skills and patience, but there are a few watching that I know personally that could probably navigate very well using this system. The structure is designed to lock out competitors. When that machine is guided by insider knowledge of regional economic policy, you have the perfect storm for a takeover. And it has been a takeover, to say the least. And so this isn't just business. This is a strategic campaign. You place your people in positions of public trust. You build a corporate engine that can swallow the market whole. And then you move to the final phase. You codify your power into law. Think about that. It's strategic and it's very intentional. And that brings us to the development agreement, a 291-acre project called Beachside. By the way, I would just want to acknowledge anyone that lives at Beachside. This is not an attack against you. This is not an attack against anyone. This is informative, and that is it. It's years of research, and we compact these podcasts, and we don't just make things up as we go. That's why I encourage any and everyone to look into things yourself. Go back to scripture. It says, study to show yourself approved. So, it's like, dive into it yourself, and don't just take my word at it or anybody else's word for something, especially the mainstream media. Good Lord, that'll just poison you and have you, want to run through the street naked. I mean, it's just full of the same thing, right? It keeps your attention diverted to other things. So the topic and conversation, the Lynn Files, things such as this, and this individual corporations are able to just maneuver themselves and do as they please, while our community, while you, your family, your neighbor, your brother, sister, we're all paying attention to the election or this or that or the Epstein file, and so we lose ourselves in the fog of it all. And what really matters is where you stand and where you live, where you raise your children. Every part of it, every institution, every organization, it matters. That's where the substance is. That's where your legacy is. Not their legacy, your legacy. You are the stakeholder. Just take that in. You're like, I don't want that responsibility. I just want to live my life. I get it. We all want to just live our lives. But there's a moral obligation to stand and inform and say, no, that is not right. What's being done is not right, because it is breaking this community and the rural communities within our country. It's chipping away at the very the bedrock of our nation, our rural communities, small business owners. This affects everyone. Not on the surface, you might say, but slowly it is chipping away. And we're not going to let that happen. We will stand for truth and justice with no fear. It's like, I really had to take this all in, digest this, have an internal dialogue. Boy, I won't have any fear. No, not at all. And I won't back down for standing for truth, justice, and the Constitution and democracy. I truly believe that it is one of my core fundamental. We live in we do not know, if you've never traveled outside, if you've never been to a third world country, or you've just been, sometimes I'm not saying that anyone's more intelligent or knows more. Well, you know what you see and those sort of things, but go somewhere go to a third world country and see how things are done. Now, I'll be as gut level honest as possible on this without, I'll hold that one back. Let's get back to the point here. So the agreement, the 291 acre project called Beachside, this public document, as I said, look, guys, in my opinion, it's so hard to get this out, because if you read this document, I will attach it to this podcast so you can read it for yourself, is one of the most stunning examples of a municipal surrender I have ever seen in my 41 years here on earth. I mean, it's just profound. It's like, wow. It's wow. Who would do this? You're asking yourself, like, this is nuts. Who was, you look around, oh, okay. We'll dive deeper into it and you're going to get it. Hopeful. My aim is to give clarification and give facts. It is the legal weapon, this contract, that finalizes the capture. And so let me break it down a little bit. For those of you that are not aware of the contract, what the City of Palacios allegedly gave away to this one developer. First, and this is the poisonous tree from which all other bad fruits grows, the money. The money. Section 6.1 of the agreement lays out a reimbursement scheme. For up to 15 years, the developer, SAL Holdings, Mr. Lynn, is entitled to receive 75% of all property taxes collected from the new development. Let that sink in. So let me repeat that one more time. 75% of this city's primary revenue stream from this massive new project doesn't go to the city. It doesn't go to pay for more police cars, more fire protection, the road maintenance that is desperately, the infrastructure is desperately, it's like a slow locomotive going uphill, whatever they're doing, moving dirt around, I don't know. But it doesn't pay for any of that. That's what it should be going to. It doesn't pay for increased services this new subdivision will require. Matter of fact, the city pays for that, actually. We'll get into that. But it goes directly back to the developer's pocket. I mean, it's a fat, happy deal on where they're standing, not where we're standing. Because we're standing on truth, right? We're standing on your hard-working dollars. That's where it's going. Someone you probably never heard of and don't know, but it is. This isn't a normal tax abatement. This appears to be a direct siphoning of the public treasury, using the city as a collection agent for a private company. This single clause raises profound questions about its legality under the Texas Constitution, which strictly limits the granting of public money to private entities. But it gets way worse, way worse. The agreement essentially rewrites city law for the benefit of one developer. It contains a section on deemed variances. Instead of going through the normal public process, applying for a variance, holding public hearings at the zone board of adjustment, allowing citizens to voice their concerns, the agreement just grants them proof. By signing the contract, the city deemed them granted. Wider streets required? Not for this developer. Sidewalks for public safety? No, not for this developer. The developer is not required to install them. The agreement even dictates the type of curbs they can use and states it prevails over the city's own lighting requirements. Wow, city on a hill, right? This is rule by contract, not rule by law. Let me repeat that. This is rule by contract, not rule by law. It bypasses the entire democratic apparatus of municipal governance. And here's the kill shot, guys. The clause that should send a chill down the spine of every single citizen who believes in self-governance. The agreement freezes all city laws and regulations for 15 years. it explicitly states that any future actions taken by the city to prohibit or limit development shall not apply. And most shockingly, it states in the event of a conflict between this development agreement and the International Building Code, this development agreement shall prevail. Wow, good for you, SAL Holdings. You're a winner, real winner there. It's like, well, I'm sorry, guys. It just makes me it's just the fact that someone would have the gall and the audacity to even draft such an agreement. And I reached out to. I want to make a side note here. I did reach out to our City of Palacios for give me courtesy to respond or make a public statement regarding this contract. And it's the same bureaucrat. They have like a cue card, I think, and they have like 4 or 5 responses, like they do with when you call about your water bill. It's like the same 4. Like, bam, that's the log line. Bam, that's it. Bam. And when they run out of that, when they're like, oh, my cue card's up, they go back to, well, I don't know. Yet they know everything there is to know about what benefits them. But when you ask a question in which they are defensive and or they really probably don't even know, I mean, they can play ignorance, but if you're in a position in government, you can't play that one. I don't care what you say. I just got here and I'm blah, 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 blah. No, there are training, come on, you know what you're doing. I mean, if someone is elected in office, they don't get to have that excuse of, oh, I don't know. It's not, that doesn't apply here. And it doesn't apply to law. And it doesn't apply to governance. Can't play stupid or play the ignorant game or I don't know game. So with that said, they stated that they would like me to request that in writing. And every request, every FOIA request that I have submitted, especially the most recent one, which I'll get into that in another episode, which, it's just this bureaucratic, cherry-picked, just has no relevancy, but they'll be held accountable for that very, very soon. I have, we'll leave it at that. So, simple common sense answers. Why do we need a FOIA request to just ask a simple question? Let your yes be yes and your no be no. It's very simple. Yet there's have to go through this daunting process because they don't want transparency. If they wanted transparency, there wouldn't be all that. I could show you every email and every correspondent. It's like pulling your hair out to get them to say one simple, crystal clear answer. As a matter of fact, in our council meetings, why do you not attend, Mr. Wolfe? Because it's a waste of my oxygen. It's a waste of the breath because they just stare at you and they don't respond. And they just, it's like rainbows and butterflies. I don't know what's going on up there. But anyway, so the private contract between a city and a developer is given completely supremacy over the international code. I mean, so the standard for public safety and construction across this entire county, the city has, in writing, agreed to potentially subordinate the safety of its citizens to the terms of this deal. It's like, whatever you want, we gave you. We gave you, have given you. You have to ask yourself, who really benefited from this? I think it was multifaceted. I think it was quite a bit of individuals. This isn't a partnership. It looks like a hostile takeover, or just surrender, take it, or you can have it. Ratified by the city council itself. Palacios finest. The ones that won the popularity contest. That's what it seems like. Why does this one story, guys, in one small town on the Gulf Coast matter to you? In Ohio or Alabama or Mississippi or California or Montana? Because this is a blueprint. This is the new face of tyranny that the Declaration of Independence warned us about. An arbitrary government established as a fit instrument for absolute rule. This is the national crisis in a miniature microism of the national crisis that we're having right now. We have to do something. We have to take action in order to see real change. Powerful private interest, sometimes clothed in the guise of philanthropy or through massive foundations, are using their immense wealth and influence to capture the machinery of our local government across this nation. They are turning public-private partnerships into predatory tools for extracting wealth from communities for their generational wealth. They're building generational wealth from you all across this country, wherever you are. It must stop. They are eroding our own home rule, convincing financially strapped city councils to sign away their rights, their revenue, and their regulatory power for decades at a time. They are mastering the art of the land grab deal with little to no public accountability. For the time that they have, but it's coming. The accountability is coming. They will be held accountable. They are counting on you not reading the minutes of the city council meetings. And they make it, They are counting on you not knowing how to file a public information request. They are counting on you being too busy, too tired, or too intimidated to challenge a 50-page development agreement full of legalese or legal language, you can say. They are counting on silence. And that's where we come in. That's where the Wolfe Digital Tribe comes in. We must not be silent. This is our call to action. And I am asking you to do what our founders did. Pay attention, question authority, read the documents, go to your city council meetings, even though I said, but if we rally together, we can't be ignored, and they will have to answer our questions. I alone can't do this by myself. We can't make change, real change, hold people accountable, public officials, first and foremost, not the blame game, not the last administration, not the last city council. No, change is now. We demand it. We have to have it. Otherwise, what kind of community do we have? And this is not isolated, guys. I'm going to be doing the next episode. We will be diving into Bay City. Woo, Lord. And that is something else, let me tell you. It's the same mechanism. It's like it's the same indifference. It's the same pretentious tyranny. I say what I want and tell you how you're going to run your business, and I'm going to make it so hard if you don't abide by how I want something done, the way I want it done, when I want it done. I'm going to make it so impossible for you to actually invest in the community so that it flourish, creates jobs, is a beacon for, breaks the poverty cycle, instills hope. No. We must stand together. We must unite together. And a cause, not just a cause, but the cause democracy, the Constitution of this republic. You say, oh man, you're just that guy. Yeah, I'm that guy. And we all should wake up and pay attention to what's going on in our own backyard and what's going on not just nationally, what's going on globally. Read, don't just watch the news. We have to put our head in the game. Next thing you know is things are going to, and you won't even know what happened. To read the documents. Go to our county commissioner meetings. When a new development is proposed in our town, and they propose things all the time, and I'll get into that. I'll go ahead and get into that. I studied the statistics on when they propose things and amendments, and during you could say the high season of attendance for city council meetings, they don't really get into too much. It's when, people are really busy, the low tide, I'll call it the low tide, is when they're, sneaky, and just next thing you know, like, well, hold on, when did that happen? What was that? It's intentional. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to have to answer questions. They just want to do as they have always, and, right under our noses. But I pay attention. And there are people in this community that pay attention, in this county, in this state, in this nation. I'm not alone. But who would I be speaking to? I'm telling you, you're not alone, those watching. But we have to rally together, not for the Richard cause, not for that cause, for democracy itself, for the livelihood of your families, of this nation, and our future. We have to ask the hard questions. And we must ask to see the development agreements. And I know I've said the bureaucratic, due process. I learned a long time ago. I remember I was speaking to an attorney one time, and we were discussing laws and vice versa. And he said, Richard, look, you really have no laws until you get to or rights unless you get to a higher court. And that really opened my mind. I'm like, what? I thought I'm entitled to that. No. It's gotten to the point of your rights. You have to know your rights and know how to exercise your rights. As an American says, you have to exercise your rights, or they, So ignorance is not bliss, guys. But back, I'm a nerd. Okay, I carry around the Constitution during COVID. When COVID, I really delved into the United States Constitution, and that documents and it's the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. Abraham Lincoln's writings are amazing, by the way. Just food for thought. It really gave me a whole new perspective on what it is to be an American, and how we hear about the Revolution War and the sacrifices. Man, I'm not trying to diminish that, but to look at the men that drafted. I'm not saying it was perfect. Nothing is anything man drafts is not perfect, because we're not perfect creation, right? But it just was and still is the greatest experiment ever to be had. And yet we stand united. I believe in the American spirit. And the American spirit is found right next door. The American spirit is within you. We've seen it time after time through history, through battles, through oppression, through depression, through economic crisis, and through every other setback and catastrophe. We have risen. We have gathered with a collective effort. And I believe in that. Because without that, what are we? Really, what are we? What do we have to hold on to? You say, oh man, that's really... Seriously, what do we have to hold on to? And it will not wither away, and because there is people, a movement. That's what I'll call it, a movement. Move and shape. Tired of the old bureaucratic junk mess, swampy, just just the attitude that these people have. For me personally, I've learned so much through this process. It's been the most challenging part of my life. I'm not going to be a old victim and I've been smeared. I've been just, anything that they could throw at me, whatever. I'll rise to the challenge. Bring it. Look, I have slayed many Goliaths in my life. When I say that, I mean my personal, internal breakthrough, things that I've had to shake off my life, and I still work through. I've never claimed to be, this is not that, no. But where are your stones? I just thought about something when God told David to go gather stones. It's like, I wonder if I bet he carefully picked what stones. You say, why would that matter? I think it would matter. And he slayed that Philistine. And whatever your giant is or your Goliath, regardless of government, regardless of all those things, you can rise above it. And you don't have to do it alone either. And I want to personally thank the support system that I have. You know who you are, that have, you can say, have given me guidance and wisdom, sound wisdom. But, I go to scripture, the Bible says, surround yourself with a multitude of wise counsel, not just one, a multitude of wise counsel. And I'm so grateful and thankful for that. I've had friends that I've known my entire life, and you have to, I step back and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the new friendships that I've established and the network that I've established. And it's a protection, and it's guidance, and it's sound mind, because you have to be able to step out of where you are sometimes and say, okay, what's going on? And, is it, I don't want to be one-dimensional in my thinking. You have to, and you don't want to seek advice just to seek advice either, if that makes any sense. We have an internal voice. But if you're at a point in your life where you're just unwilling to ask for help, unwilling to ask for advice, then you're not going to make it through whatever battle it is. You won't. You get up really beat up, and still you might seek advice and be worn down, but I promise you it'll be a softer landing, and you'll obtain, gain, and learn and overcome and look back and say, wow, I did that and that was nothing. That's where I'm at in my life. So it's your right in all areas of your life. But in our governance and subject matter today, it's our right. And see if your town's given away 75% of its future. And see if your town is letting a developer write their own laws. See if your town is making a private contract superior to the building code. Form watchdog groups, and that's what we're doing. Connect with your neighbors. That's what we're doing. Share information. That is what we're doing. In the age of the internet, there is no excuse for ignorance, guys. You can literally learn. They have free classes you can take on anything. I think actually Harvard offers free classes you can watch and on anything. I don't know how that would work, but regardless, we're in the age of information and the access thereof, but we're also in the age of disinformation. Say, well, how do I discern? Well, don't go to the same source all the time. That's all you'll know. You don't want to just know one source feeding you information. You'll become intoxicated with it. You'll become really brainwashed with that, if you want to call it that. And you'll be narrow-minded and narrow thinking and will not have an open mind to hear other people, regardless of their background, regardless of their pedigree, regardless of what religion, of all that. We can learn something from someone every day. If your aim is that, I do my best to hear. I don't care who they are, to hear someone's story. There is something that resonates with me. You can find something. Maybe you can offer something that they will find, and that they can look at their life from a different perspective, and they can find life and find meaning and purpose, which is a lack thereof in the generation that I see around me. There is purpose. There is life. Life is to be lived, not endured. Not to just the by and by. It's about what we do in the here and now. How we treat one another. How we treat our neighbor. To be loyal. To say a thing and do it. How about that? The men who signed the Declaration of Independence, they pledged their very lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. They believed in the experiment, as the French called it, that much. And we don't have to pledge our lives. We just have to pledge our time and our attention. It's like nothing comparatively. We have to reclaim our sacred honor as citizens. The fight against King George's tyranny, was fought in the open. This new fight is fought in the shadows of council chambers and in the fine print of legal contracts. It's a battle for the soul of our communities. And it is a battle we cannot afford to lose. So that's all the time we have today. I want to thank you for listening to the Wolfe Digital Tribe. Remember, the price of liberty, guys, is eternal vigilance. Be vigilant. Stay informed and never, ever be afraid to speak truth to power. This podcast has been a commentary and an analyst based on public records. It represents the opinions of myself, the host. All individuals and entities mentioned are presumed innocent. Thank you so much. God bless you and yours. And until next time, Richard Wolfe checking out on the Palacios Paradox.
It's causing people to feel sorry for her. I get that. I don't want that. We just went through the big city election and it was something else. And it was painful for her. I don't want to inflict pain on people. I don't care one way or the other. What my goal is for everybody to find a happy place and go back to work. That's what I want. For everybody to find a happy place and go back to work. While we're all distracted, we can't get anything done. My phone is blowing up. Why are you telling Jesse? No, I'm not telling Jesse anything.
You did tell me that, though.
What did I say?
You told me that she was fired. She was given an ultimatum of either resign or be fired.
That may or may not be true.
But you told me it was. You told me it was true, and you told me
if you look it up, you could go find it. I'm not that person. Go look it up. What I told you at the time, I can
look it up on what?
I'm amazed that you can remember any of that stuff. I could barely remember it. I wasn't on council. Something happened. And if I could remember the correction, if I remember the conversation, it was, yeah, Scotty used to work at the city before. This isn't her first time to work there. She'd worked there about 8 years. When I got on, she had just gotten on. Then
You told me that she got fired for abuse of power.
it was like that. It was like that. I'm not quoting anything though.
And that you don't want to use me, but you do want to use me. Haha.
You're going
I'm going to be useful how?
useful in helping this process move along.
But you're telling me I'm not being helpful.
At this point, it's crossed a line, and now they're defending her and not getting anything done. It's become so personal. Nobody wants to do anything. They're scared of that. Scared of that.
Of what?
Of the trauma she's experiencing. They want to protect her now. That's all I'm saying. There's a tide that changes. But anything you want to. Nobody is curbing you. Nobody's threatening you. I'm just saying what I'm experiencing. What I'm experiencing. Just what I'm experiencing. So do whatever the hell you want to do. But I get your pain. I have felt it.
I'm not in pain.
I got this.
I'm not in pain at all, Becca.
Okay. Well, then you put a lot of other people in pain. So
By speaking the truth?
you can speak the truth, but nobody wants to be daggered by their problems. Nobody wants to be daggered, especially in public. I don't want to be daggered by them. I don't.
When you take a political office and you lie,
It's not a it's not a political thing. She did not get elected to that. She got.
city manager is political office and she has the power to make life
I'm not
decisions.
going to argue that point.
Right.
You're not. You can track me down rabbit hole. I'm not going down there, Ricky.
She's the one who told the staff, if you recall what started this whole thing,
We can dwell on that.
she told the staff to not respond to me.
One way you see it, one way she sees it. I'm not going to argue that with you. I'm not in it. Wasn't there. Don't really care that point at all. That's something that is far gone.
It's not.
What do you want now?
It is it's my taxpayer right to not have my services removed by the city because I'm not doing what they want.
But what do you want? You need to go for what you want so you can get this mess out of your business. And mine.
I want to be able to trust the people that are in government of Bay City.
I think that's gone.
Really, it's not a funny
It is.
desire to want. It's a simple.
I get that. But right now, you don't have anyone wanting to help you because of the personal attacks.
Hmm.
I'm just,
I don't want their help. You know, at this point, I see how you guys work and I see how it is, and it's corrupt.
there's nobody that doesn't want to help you now, but you don't want to help.
You just told me nobody wants to help me now.
But the offers are out there.
You just told me no one wants to help me now, and now you're saying they do.
Okay.
So
See,
it's
this is what I'm talking
inconsistent.
about, because you can't say one thing and it's too difficult to communicate. What I want to say is we're passing that part where there is no way to recover. Please, let's try to find a happy place so we can all recover and try to come back to the center instead of the jabbing the people in the back all the time. And that's what she feels. I'm not saying that she feels. She did not tell me that. I did not talk to her. I haven't talked to her at all. I've gotten 2 calls about tell Jesse to lay off. Tell Jesse. Tell Jesse. I said, I don't talk to her.
You have no control over me, so that's...
And I don't have control over them either. But they are now coming to her rescue. I'm just telling you.
Well, that's fine because they're justifying pattern behavior of everyone in town who stands up.
Everybody's going to support their friend and their family. Everybody's going to. I don't want everything to go to the dogs. I want our businesses. I want a new plan in city government for how to handle downtown and every empty building in town. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that's all on the table. I want you to get what you want too. I don't know that you're ever going to get full trust in city government because I don't think there's any way you would be convinced that everybody really does care. I think everybody shows up to work and tries to do their best. She probably works harder than anybody else. I don't know that she's doing what everybody else wants, but I think she has a good heart. But I know she's mad as hell at me because she thinks I'm colluding with you.
Well, I think that you're trying to kind of play both sides because you pulled up at my house the other night and told me that you warned